Hey everybody, my name is Ethan Ostroff. I'm a personal injury lawyer in the Philadelphia area. My firm helps people all across the country. Either we can represent you for your case or we can find you representation for your case. Either way, I hope you don't need representation for any case because nobody deserves to go through a personal injury case. If you do, click below for a free case evaluation. A member of my team or myself will hop on the phone with you. And today we're going to talk about something really important, which is what is negligence in a personal injury case? It is a very misunderstood subject. I'm going to dive deep into that. But before I get there, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Follow along where I will make sure that your future personal injury case is protected so that you don't have to be behind the eight ball and you don't have insurance companies that push you around. So what is negligence in a personal injury case? A very basic question. The definition of negligence, sort of on a sliding scale. There is intentional torts where you meant to do something, whereas negligence falls sort of under a category of failure to use reasonable care, leading to an injury. That is what negligence means, as opposed to recklessness, which is basically a disregard for the safety of others. Negligence is a little less intentional, where you do something that might be a little careless that leads to an injury that, in terms of your case, it's you did something that wasn't using reasonable care, therefore somebody got hurt. That's why a personal injury case exists. This is not in the criminal realm. This is in the civil realm. Really, there's two kinds of court systems. There's civil and there's criminal. Negligence falls under the civil realm, whereas let's say that you went and you punched somebody right in the face. There might be both a criminal and a civil aspect to that. You might have criminal charges of battery, but there also might be a civil charge of battery. Whereas a car accident, let's say that you rear-ended somebody, you're going to get sued in civil court, but you're not going to go to jail for rear-ending somebody unless you were drunk or unless you were doing something that was completely reckless or got DUI. Very different situation. So, what is negligence in a personal injury claim? It is really just not using reasonable care. A better way to say that is being careless, leading to somebody getting hurt. So, for example, let me give you a couple of examples here. If you rear-end somebody at a stoplight, that's negligence. That's failure to use reasonable care. It's reasonable to expect people to look forward, pay attention to their driving, and hold the wheel and push on the brake instead of rear-ending into somebody. You're supposed to maintain reasonable control of your vehicle at all times. If you don't, you can be sued for that. Let's say that you own a business and something spilled in an aisleway and was sitting there for an hour, and then somebody slips and they break their arm. That is negligence. You should have a pattern and procedure that says every so often, I'm going to send somebody to go clean up the store. There are different types of negligence, whereas sometimes in a personal injury case, there's some sort of leveled up versions of negligence like recklessness, like punitive damages, where let's say that somebody had a rule in place to, let me give you an example of a case we had. We represented 23 victims from a Greyhound bus crash in a 2016 bus crash that had happened. The driver was supposed to, by the rules of Greyhound, take a rest every 150 miles. But Greyhound also forced people to drive a lot. And if they didn't hit their deadlines, then they wouldn't make as much money. So they were incentivized to drive quicker to get to their destination faster. So they were skipping this 150-mile stop. They would stop every 175 miles, every 200 miles, every 250. So the way that we proved that case and actually got punitive damages is because we used their own rules against them. That is an even higher standard than negligence. That was a punitive damage case where not only did they not force people to follow that 150-mile rule, but they almost discouraged people to follow their own rule by putting profits over safety of people. So the basic rule, negligence is, did you act as a reasonable person or a reasonable doctor would have? And if you didn't, then that lack of or the behavior you did do led to somebody getting hurt, that is negligence in a personal injury case. If you ever have any questions, I hope you are not going through a personal injury case. Click below for a free case evaluation where I or a member of my team will hop on the phone with you 24 hours a day. If you have any questions, please reach out. Make sure to hit that subscribe button where I will make sure your future personal injury case is protected. Thank you.